MedDRA coding. So I'll be just explaining some concepts of this MedDRA coding. That's it. Okay. So I have one trial version with me, but before that, let us see here. Data set provided to us like this. Data adverse. Okay. Then here, adverse event. Yeah, subject ID. See, it's better you write like this. Always write the input and later give the labels. Okay, now subject ID. So this person suffers from the headache. Then they suffer from the headache only. Means HED, HED, ACE, HED, ACHE. So I mean the doctors, sometimes they write like headache. Then in the place of myocardial infarction, some people they write MI also, like this. So these are all the verbatim words. Verbatim words are, these are the text which we derive from the case report forms. Okay. But when you do the frequency based on this A verbatim, like this, know the frequency, then it will show because of this clinical trial how many adverse events are happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 adverse events happen, but really not the 9 adverse events happen. Okay, so you have to code it based on the using the MedDRA coding. So the verbatim words we are converting into the preferred term. In the preferred term, HED will be the headache, myocardial infarction, MI also myocardial infarction. Like this, you are converting the verbatim words into the preferred terms and know the frequency using this preferred term, not by the verbatim. Now you can see those are not like 9 adverse events. Here we have only 6 adverse events only, because these are repeated. These 2 are repeated and this one also repeated. So because of this drug, only 6 adverse events happen, not the 9 adverse events. Okay. So this is one advantage. And later on, instead of using different terminology, so we are using a common terminology. Okay, common terminology according to the MedDRA dictionary. So MedDRA is a medical dictionary for regulatory activities. We have 2 types of the dictionaries. One is MedDRA, the second one is WHO drug. WHO drug means it is to code the drugs. See, paracetamol, acetaminophen, both are same. Disprin, aspirin, and salicylic acid, all these are the same. So different people, they use different names, right? So to make them in a common format, then we'll be using the WHO drug dictionary. So we have some co-star, like that we have different dictionaries, right? So using those dictionaries is called the medical coding. So here it's a drug coding, this is a disease coding. Okay, and in like US, okay, in US there's a like insurance system there, right? Medical insurance system. There also we use different types of the coding, like ICD 9cm or ICD 10cm, means International Classification of Diseases. That's one type of the medical coding. Means whatever the doctors, they do the service to the patient, the insurance company, they will pay to the doctor for their service. So how they how they report their services to the insurance companies means they will use the coding. So that's called the ICD 9cm. So International Classification of Diseases. According to the ICH guidelines, they will do the coding and they will send to the insurance companies for the claims. So diseases, they use this ICD, and if it is a procedure, if they have done any procedure to the patient, then they use a different dictionary, that's called the CPT. CPT means current procedural terminology. Like this, there are different types of the dictionaries. Okay, so like this, there are different types of the dictionaries. So here, sometimes the MedDRA, it's an integrated one. Means you can use the MedDRA to find out the ICD number also. Okay, because when you are doing this clinical trial, even the doctors also, they can get the money. Means they can claim something. They can claim something like from the insurance companies also. Means some clinical trials, not all the clinical trials. So in that cases, they can use this coding. Okay. So anyway, don't bother about all those. Just let us see what's the coding. And in this coding, we have different levels. There's a hierarchy. So this MedDRA is maintained by a company called the MedDRA.org. This is a website. This one, MedDRA.org. Okay. So history. It is in different language, multilingual. 1990, before 1990, no standard international medical terminology. In 1993, partly. Then 1994, ICH adapted. Means they recommend the ICH. They recommended the MedDRA dictionary for this clinical trials. Later on, they developed so many versions. So 1999. Then slowly, if you can see the versions. Every 6 months they release a new version, adding some new terms. Every 6 months. The MedDRA MSSO. MSSO means Maintenance and Support Service Organization. So released a new MedDRA web-based browser as of March 2015. Okay, your MedDRA subscription will only grant you access to this new browser. Means, yeah, maybe they released in recently. Means every 6 months they release a new version. So this is the hierarchy in the MedDRA. First, the verbatim words will be converted into lowest level term, preferred term, high level term, high level group term, and system organ class. So it's a hierarchy. You need to remember this: low level term, preferred term, high level group term, and the SOC, system organ class. So this is an hierarchy. Okay. So let me explain what's this hierarchy. Yeah, this MedDRA is used for clinical studies, for regulatory submissions, reports of spontaneous adverse events and events, adverse reactions and events, then regulated product information. MedDRA includes signs, symptoms, disease, diagnosis, therapeutic indications, like medical, social, family history, only these things. Okay. Then MedDRA terminology also includes some other terminologies like JSTART, CoSTART, HERTZ, like this. These are also the coding dictionaries. But if you use the MedDRA, you can find out the codes related to these three also, even ICD also. ICD. Okay. So better use the MedDRA because it's a superior one. Yeah, even ICD 9 is used in conjunction with the clinical notification of the ICD 9. Okay. MedDRA. Then so this is the trial version 14.1. 14. Okay. So just click on this. Not this one. Okay. Now, so this is the folder. In this I have the complete content. So here there's a folder MedDRA, just click on this one. It's a browser. I'm installing now on my system. Okay, so it got installed. This one. So it's a MedDRA dictionary. So we have multiple versions. So here we are selecting 16.1 version English. 16.1. Okay, now let us see here. We have one data like this. Study ID. Okay, adverse event domain. Then user subject ID. Then so this is a data collector from a case report form. So this is an HDTM data set. Just a moment, please. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. Okay. Yeah, there's some problem in the system. See, this is one data provided to us. Okay, means the data collected from the case report form, and from the case report form, the annotations has been done. You know about the annotations, right? What's the annotation? First, the case report form will be filled up with the data. Let me show you that case report form. So these are the case report forms. Okay, it is one case report form. So the data filled. Okay, let us take the adverse. So we have an adverse event case report form, paper case report form. So the doctor fills the case report form, and this form will be given to the data manager. The data manager will, how they collect the data from this adverse event case report form, means first they will use the HDTM terminology. So they will open the HDTM implementation guide. In the HDTM implementation guide, so in the AE domain, what are the variable names are present, they will write like this: study ID. Means this content will be collected under study ID. Then this will be collected under the ID number, the data from here. Okay, and adverse event term, whatever the data present here, that will be collected under the adverse event term, adverse event start date, end date, like this. Okay, so they collect the entire information in the case report form, and the case report forms were annotated. So this is called the annotation of the case report form. How they annotate means they will take this terminology from the HDTM implementation guide, they will annotate. Then after annotation, the data will be collected into some Excel or SAS data set or whatever it may be. So they will import and convert into, see, this is an Excel sheet. See here how the data is. Study ID. Okay, see, study ID. Then domain. So here the domain. Later use subject ID AEDTC. Here, see, use subject ID AEDTC. Like this, whatever the terms are here annotated, so they will use these as heading, and under these headings they collect the data. For example, here A term. Okay, so here we have the A term. Okay. What's the A term? So here the data in the one case report forms was showing X, anxiety, achy back, aching leg muscles, spasm, sweating. Okay, sweats are same. Okay, different verbatim words they use. A key back and X both are same. Okay, like this. See, allergy, allergy SX, allergies, all are same. Okay, so they will collect the data like this. Means this is the data of how many patients adverse events. See, from 2,377 case report forms they collected the adverse events. Okay, then after collecting these adverse events, what they do, this is not the MedDRA coded, right? It's not the MedDRA coded. It is simply the verbatim words they collect from the case report form, right? So after this, what they do, they will do the MedDRA coding like this. Now let us see here. So what is it's the adverse event term? Okay. Then in the adverse event term, then they will write like this: low level term code, low level term, okay, LLT, low level term. Then preferred term. This is a hierarchy. Later preferred term and preferred term code. Then high level term and high level term code. Okay. Then high level group term and high level group term code. Then okay, high level term and high level group term. Then system organ class, term and code. So they will take the hierarchy like this. What is the hierarchy? Just now we saw the hierarchy here. This is a hierarchy. Lowest level term, preferred term. So lowest level term. So anyway, this is the lowest level. It's the lowest level term. Then this is a preferred term and code. Later, high level term, high level group term, system organ class. HLT, high level term, then code. HLGT, high level group term, code. Then system organ class, code. Like this, they will use the hierarchy. Then after using this hierarchy, for example, it's a dry eye. Okay, dry eye. Let's take this one. Dry eye. What is a dry eye? Dry eye is a adverse event term, right? Dry eye is a adverse event term. Though they will type the dry eye here. Okay, dry eye. I mean, for example, congenital here eye disorders. For example, it is some lacrimal punctum, some agenesis or congenital lacrimal passage anomaly. Okay, they click here. I mean, if it is a term, for example, this is a term, then when you open the details, MedDRA code is this one for the LLT or yeah. So actually, this is not the complete version. It is just the trial. That's the reason I'm not adding this try. If okay, let us add like this corneal tear. Okay, search it. Yeah, now it is showing the corneal tear means uh, if it is eye disorder, it's not showing. Okay, it's not showing because this is one dictionary. It's not supporting. It is very. I mean, it's a trial version. Okay. Mm, let us take this one. Glaucoma. Okay, so let's take the glaucoma then. So glaucoma also we can use it as a preferred term. Okay, so here I am using glaucoma. Now here when you see the glaucoma, so what is the preferred term? Low level term. Low level term for glaucoma is like this, glaucoma. Click here. Okay, now it will show So what is the preferred term for this glaucoma? Glaucoma, and MedDRA code is 100183004. Let us see here we have the glaucoma or not. So you cannot find. Actually, in this there is no glaucoma. Okay. So for example, take the cold. Okay, or dry eye. Or take the cold only. No problem. Okay. So what's the cold here? The cold is, the cold comes under the adverse event term, and low level term also we call it as a cold only, and if it is a low level term there is a code. See, when you click on the low level term and right click open the details, then it will give the code. See, if it's a low level term LLT glaucoma means right click and open details, it will give the code. Okay, if it's a preferred term it will give the code. Okay, it's a low level term, right? So it will generally give the code. Anyway, as I told you, this is one trial version, so it's not a complete one. So it will give you the code for the low level term. Later preferred term. Preferred term is a nasopharyngitis. Then there's a code for the nasopharyngitis. Then if you go bit up, then nasopharyngitis is upper respiratory tract infection. There's a code. Then if you go bit up, we call it as an infection or pathogen class unspecified. Then if you go up, it's the infections and infestations. It comes on the infections and infestations, system organ class. Okay. See, for example, we have some nausea and vomiting. For example, we have the nausea. Nausea is a adverse event term. Okay. And low level term also the nausea. It's a code. And preferred term also the nausea. Nausea and vomiting symptoms. It's a high level term. When you go bit up, gastrointestinal disease. Then when you go up, it's a gastrointestinal disorder. Means whatever that small diseases are there, finally they will be classified broadly into the SOC. There are different system organ classes. See, for example, we have some like cold, severe cold or aphasia, breathlessness, or some pneumonia like symptoms are there. So what we write generally, breathlessness, cold, watery, fluid in the lungs. Okay, so hydropneumonia, like this we will be using different terminology, but finally that comes to the respiratory tract infection or respiratory disorders, like this. See, respiratory, thoracic and intestinal disorders, like this. So we have this hierarchy, but usually in the clinical trials we won't be using the high level group term and high level term. We use the preferred term, low level term, and the directly SOC. Why we are using this? Because we are classifying them. Got it? See, what are the adverse event happened because of your clinical trial means 10 people are suffer from cold, or 10 people are suffer from chest pain. Okay, so no need to say like this. Directly give the broad classification. Okay, 100 people experienced the respiratory disorders, then 10 experienced the excretory disorders. Okay, then 15 people like experienced the endocrinal disorders, like this, gastrointestinal disorders, like this. So you can classify broadly and prepare the reports based on the SOC. But in creating some reports, what are the respiratory tract infections you observed means, then you have to create a table based on the preferred term, because the preferred term contains all the respiratory tract infections only, right? If they ask us. So like this we will be doing the coding. Got it? So how they do the coding means, just will write the term here, they will click here, then automatically it will show the high level group term, high level term, preferred term, low level term, everything. Okay, so based on that we will be using it. Got it? So this is just for an idea, that's it. We have not done anything because I don't have the full version, because it's a paid version, and there are different methods to do the meta coding. I just shown you the desktop version only. Okay, but there is one Excel version also. If you see, first give all the headings, then enter the verbatim word, automatically it will give the code and the term related to the high level term, high level group term, it will automatically fill in the Excel sheet. Just enter the preferred term, just enter the verbatim, automatically it will fill the coding. So that automatic sheets also available from the MedDRA. So it is easy, right? So again, no need to copy from there. If you type, then automatically fill in. Okay. So if you are interested, you can just browse some papers, SAS and MedDRA. So you can find the relationship between the SAS and MedDRA. You can use the SAS formats also for the MedDRA. Means after purchasing the MedDRA, you have to convert them into the formats, that Excel content. Then MedDRA data as SAS formats you can use. You can see low level term, preferred term format, like high level, whatever you want, you can just give the formats. It will generate the output. See, MedDRA dictionary, reporting, version updates, a SAS based MedDRA coding system. Can coding MedDRA and WH should that be as easy? Then MedDRA and WH for drug, adverts event data coding. So you can find a lot of people. There are some macros also. Okay, MedDRA data SAS formats. Okay. So you can use the macros also for the MedDRA coding. Anyway, the company is having some SOPs, standard operating procedures. So based on the standard operating procedures, we will be doing the work, right? If they ask you to use the SAS, then you have to use the SAS. Or if they are using some other tools, then you have to follow them. So it is some introduction. MedDRA pyramid 12.1 version. Totally it's 67,000 low level terms, preferred terms are these many, high level terms, high level group term, SOCs. But no need to know this. Okay. See, it is one MedDRA based adverse event diagnostics. Just click on it. Automatically, you can use the SAS program also to do the MedDRA coding. So based on the company, what they use. Okay. So this is about the MedDRA. Clear? Okay. Then what are the topics remain MedDRA we did? Okay. TLF preparation, tables, lists and figures. How to create the TLFs. Okay, that's the main topic we have to do now. Okay. Let us see what is the TLFs. So take the final clinical study report. Final clinical report. So to do the final, this final clinical report. So final clinical report is a report which will be submitted to the FDA after completion of your complete trial. It contains the TLFs, okay, tables, listings and figures, and we also discussed this in the last class, like about the sapmaker.com. In the sapmaker also you can find the contents of the clinical study report. It's E3, right? E3 will give you the details about the clinical study report. So the final study report contains 3 parts as we discussed. So what are the 3 parts? Population tables, study population, then it's a study population, first thing. Then this is the first study population. Second one is efficacy. Then third one are the safety. So 3 types of the tables will be having. So the second part, efficacy. Then the third one is the safety. So 3 types of, we classify the tables into 3 types: safety, efficacy, and the demographics. Okay. So these are the contents of the final study report. Then when you open the SAPmaker, in the SAPmaker you see what is there in the clinical study report. it will show the content of the clinical study report. I think it's not opening. I don't know, some issues there it seems. But in the last class we saw what's the content of the clinical study report. Okay. Then to create these TLFs, we call these the TLFs. So how to create these TLFs? Based on the SAP provided to us. The data management team will give us the data. Biostatistician will give us the SAP. Okay. Then keep the SAP and data with you, and by going through the SAP then we will be creating the TLFs by doing the programming. Okay. So you should know what is the content of the SAP first. Okay. So how the SAP looks like. So you have to review some SAPs. This is one SAP, statistical analysis plan of one clinical trial. So what the SAP contains. Okay. Then this is one more SAP, protocol statistical analysis plan. It is one SAP related to one study. Then this is SAP shells. SAP shells means first we'll have a SAP and later how our tables should look like. These are called the mock tables. Okay. Sometimes the SAP only contains the mock tables, or sometimes the SAP will be given separately. See, this is the two. See, DUTPK 17 SAP amended. It's SAP amendment. 1 second, it is showing 5th April 2010. So 5th April 2010. Yeah, I think it's same one. Okay, it's the same one, and this is the protocol. Sorry, the TLFs. Table figure data listing shells. This is called the shells or mock tables. So you should write the code. Okay, your code has to create a listing which looks like this. Okay, and how to create this table means that information will be there in the SAP. What statistical analysis plan they are asking to follow. If you can go through these SAPs, you will understand. And also to find out the content of the SAP, go through this site also, sapmaker.com. Then understand the content of the SAP, the sapmaker.com. So you can find the SAP content. Today what you do, just go through the sample SAPs. I'll be giving you multiple SAPs. Okay, so these are the two SAPs. I mean, only one SAP, but there are shells, and this is one data related to the SAP, and yeah, this is one more SAP. Okay, statistical analysis plan. It contains the tables, figures, as well as the specifications of how to create these tables. Okay, so this is one SAP. Then if you are interested, you can go to, you can have multiple SAPs also. Yeah, this is also, it is showing in Word document, right? Table figure data listing shells, 16 September. 16, I think it's the same one. Forest Research Institute. Forest Research, yeah, both are same. But it's in the Word document and it is in the PDF. Then this is one SAP. Yeah, this is one more SAP, I think. Okay. Yeah, these are the SAP. Then it is showing how to create the tables. Title, study agent, primary, secondary, fund analysis, pools and types. Okay, so yeah, This one more SAP. I think I scanned the pages. Okay. Okay, no need to worry about this one because yeah. So if you are interested, you can even download some more SAPs also. And yeah, this is one more SAP, statistical analysis plan. So it is a workshop of how to create the SAP. That's a different one. So yeah, it is one more SAP. Okay, so just go through these SAPs. Okay, and I will just explain you usually what the SAP contains. You can find here in this one also, SAP Maker. There's some problems. Here, SAP. Click on the SAP and you can find the content of the SAP. Why this is important? Because you will be showing some 2 or 3 years of experience or even 5 years of experience also. So when you are showing the experience, they will ask you what's the content of the SAP. Why? Because as a SAS program, what we do, every day we are working with the SAP only, right? Means just by looking at the SAP, you are creating the TLS, table restrictions figures. So what they do, they thought that you are perfect with the SAP. So you should know the content of SAP very well. Got it? You should understand the demographic characteristics. What's the demography? What's the medical history? What are the survival? Sorry, vital signs, physical examination, concomitant medication, then lab. So these domains you should know. What is the content of each and every domain? Okay. Then you should know the statistical methods and determination of the sample size also a little bit. Okay. Then you should know the data handling. Then the meaning of the efficacy and the safety, and how to do the safety analysis and efficacy analysis, and what are the adverse events. When it's a vital signs, then the minimum knowledge of what's the minimum diastolic blood pressure, what's the maximum diastolic blood pressure, systolic blood pressure, what's the pulse rate, the body weight. Okay. Then for example it's an ECG. Okay, then how many leads will be there in the ECG. So I mean, see, for example, if they ask you, have you ever created the ECG tables? If you say that yes, I created ECG table means, then they will ask you what's the PR interval, what's the QRS interval, what's the QTC interval. Okay, in the ECG minimum, right? Because if you are showing some 5 years experience, if you say that I created so many times, the ECG tables means, they will ask what's the meaning of this one. So just find out what is the PR interval, what is the minimum value of the PR interval. It should be more than 250 mseconds. Just try to find out what is the ECG content. Then laboratory evaluations. Okay. Then you should know the programming specifications also. Means when you see this table, okay, what are the program specifications? At least 1.5 inch on the binding margin, and at least 1 inch on all sides, and a minimum 9 PT font. See, this font is 9. Left side, right side should be 1 inch space. Okay. Then margin should be 1.5. Like this. They will give the specification, right? So based on the specification we will be using. Then where to write the page number and where to write the date. So this is the page number 169. The date should be displayed here, and this is the page number. Okay. And this is the table number. So page number, and it's a table number means it is only one table. See, table 14.01. Table 14.01 only. But the second means it's a continuation of this one. Baseline, then baseline. It's a continuation of these two will be called as only one table. Okay. Then the data will be centered with columns. So these program specifications will be given. Okay. So these program specifications also, where you find these program specifications in the SAP only, right? Because you are creating the TLFs. So to create the TLF, the content will be there in the SAP only. So SAP contains all these things. Then program specifications will be there. Okay. And mainly the program specification will be there, and how to handle the missing data. Okay. Then how to handle the what is that, extreme values. Then it contains a list of tables and a list of efficacy tables, safety tables, demographic tables, and sometimes they will give like this patient data listings. Okay. Or they will give laboratory reports separately. Okay. Then I mean they will give you a list of tables. If the tables are 100, then you have to create all the 100 tables based on, and the table marks will be there in the essay. So just go through that sapmaker.com and find out what's the content of the SAP and see these what we say, the sample SAPs also. Clear? So yeah, that's it. Then the next class, what we do will be we'll use an SAP, and from the SAP we'll create one table. Okay, I will show you how to create the one listing, one or two listings. Then tables. What's the difference between listings and tables? Listing means it contains a list. Okay, tables means it contains summary. See, for example, give the list of students means we'll give all the list of the students who are in the classroom. For example, there are 10 students in the classroom. Then we'll give the list of the student list. Let's call the listing. Listing is the detailed one. Table means male 5, female 5. So you're summarizing and giving a report. That's called a table. Table is the summarized one. Listing is the detailed one. So which one is easy to create? Listing only, because directly you'll be giving the complete details. You are not going to summarize anything. If you are summarizing, that will be considered as table. Figures means graphs. Okay, you are showing graphically, right? So that is the TLFs. Okay, so in the next class we'll be doing one TLF. Why I'm not explaining the TLF means, first of all, you should understand what is the common data domains. Okay, so common data domain means you should understand what is the study population. You see, if possible, you write down this and browse the net and find out the meaning of this study population. What's the safety? What's an intent to treat? Okay, what's the efficacy? Then about the domains, subject demographics. What's an inclusion and exclusion criteria? Then subject disposition means what is the subject disposition? Then what contents are present in the medical history? Physical examination means what are the variables present in the physical examination? You go through the SDD implementation guide and find out what are the variables present in this each domain. So mainly see these things. Okay, not all are required. Study population, safety, intent to treat. These are about the study population talking about. Safety, intent to treat, efficacy. Then subject demographics, inclusion and exclusion criteria, subject disposition, medical history. Okay, then in the physical examination also you have to find out the variable names, then vital signs, then treatment exposure, interventions, then concomitant medication, adverse events. Okay, then clinical laboratory data. So these are enough. So no need to bother about the ECG. If you are interested, you can go, but no need to bother about the ECG and other domains. Okay, so these are the common domains and important domains which we have to explain. Okay. Because after this we will be preparing our resume, right? In the resume, what we do, we will keep some projects. So if you give some project, what they will ask you like how you worked on the project and what type of tables have you created in this project. Okay, so what type of listings have you created. Okay, then what are the variables in this domain. So they will ask you these type of the questions. So no need to give the the HDTM terminology. So no need to give AE term. Okay, so what are the variables in the adverse event domain means just tell them adverse event term, then when the adverse event started, when the adverse event ended, then how long the adverse event was, then whether the adverse event is related to study drug or not, then what action we had taken for the adverse event. So if we can explain these variable names, that is enough. So no need to explain, AE STDTC, AE ENDTC, AE term, okay. So AE SCQ, AE VAL. So no need to explain the variable names of the SDTM. Just we can explain the labels also, that is fine. Okay, so just prepare this. So tomorrow I will be explaining this TLF. Okay, so tomorrow means tomorrow, no, I can't take the class. Day after tomorrow we'll meet and do the class. Okay, only tomorrow we are missing class. Fine. So yeah, I uploaded these to the same folder. Okay, this in the SkyDrive I uploaded to one drive. It's some clinical new. Okay, so every day I upload to the same folder. Okay, just to open that folder and download the contents. Okay.